What is up, Cinders, and welcome back to Chicken Cindy's. Today we're going to do another Polygon breakdown video. I used to call this series Coffee in the Coop. I got my cup of coffee. Got my amazingly awesome coaster that Tinkering Cyclist made me. Also, actually, rocking the Tinkering Cyclist hat. So, my last video did pretty well over the Polygon bike that I broke down. Insert here. And I had a couple people ask me to do some videos on the Siskiu T series. So, we're gonna do the T7, which is currently $400 off, which brings it down to $1,600, yeah, $1,599. So this one's about $300 more than the D7 that I did a couple weeks ago. So, we're gonna throw up the picture. Boo! Let me move this real quick. Up, down, up, down. That's the hardest part, is to get the actual picture of the screen recording to match my voice and stuff. So we make it work though, so don't mind that part there. But we're gonna jump right into this. I'm gonna tear this T7 apart. Let's start with pictures, because that's what I like to start with. So T7, absolutely gorgeous looking bike. I've seen a couple of these in person. The yellow and teal fade is beautiful. I think it looks absolutely amazing in person. From the picture, it looks like it has Schwalbe's. The last bike I did, the D7, I believe it said it came with Schwalbe's, but people were commenting that it came with Maxxis. I'll put here in the corner real quick what it did and didn't come with. So if you have the other one, put in the comment what tires yours came with, because there was like a slight miscommunication or representation from my understanding from the picture compared to the actual like parts it came with. So that was kind of interesting. So, looks like you got RockShox up front, looks like you got RockShox in the rear. Very nice, reliable. No beef against Suntour. It's a more budget option. That's why the D7 had more budget option choices in the sense of parts. It's $300 less. So, if it's still on sale. As of right now, no idea when these sales are gonna end or when they're gonna keep going. And if they stay on sale long enough, I may ending up. That was a good one. If these actually end up staying on sale for a while, I may end up snagging one eventually. So if you want me to snag one to actually review, put in the comments which one you want, because I don't have a full suspension anymore. It might be fun to get another one. So, all right. Ooh, that's pretty cool background. I like that. I did have someone point out in the last video, which I was unaware of, but it looks like potentially larges and extra larges aren't on sale. So that large is. Extra large is as well. So I wonder why the D7, someone commented the large. I'll have to check that later then. So yeah, the larges and extra larges are on sale for the T7. So yeah, I don't know. There's Jared Morgan. I know that guy. He's my Facebook buddy. All right, so let's see what we got here in the fun picture. So we got RockShox Deluxe Select Plus. I've ran plenty of those. Absolutely have always been fine for me. Recon Silver, not top of the line RockShox by any means. More of like bottom middle-ish in the sense of like what it is. Very nice air fork. I mean, you can't really go wrong. TransX dropper again. I love the 150 and 170. That's still so stinking cool to me that it comes with 150 and 170. And honestly, for a large to extra large, you may even be able to replace that with like a 200 from like P&W or something. So keep that in mind. You can measure that to see for sure. Tektro MD47569er. I said that wrong. MD HD M745s. There we go. A lot of times those numbers represent models and like how many different actual, say, pistons are in the front, whether they're dual pistons or quad pistons and things like that. So it says 180 front and rear, 4 and 2 piston brakes. So I'll have to get a closer look at that. It sounds like 4 will probably be front and 2 will probably be rear. So unbeatable value, Shimano Deore Trail Ready. I will swear by Shimano Deore. I will swear by Microshift Advent X. For the price, I think they are some of the absolute best clutched just group sets you can purchase for the price. I think they're absolutely terrific. We'll probably get into a little bit of geo. Let's just say, ooh, 65-degree head tube angle. That's pretty nice. 77, that'd be really nice for climbing. Man, 65 that seems pretty steep for a trail-oriented bike, because my hardcore hardtail was 65 when I had my NS Eccentric. So that's actually pretty cool. I like that. I like that number a lot, actually. Let's get to... Okay. A lot of people wanted me to compare these two together. T8, nicer bike, better components, $400 more. If you like the colors and you have $400 more to purchase the T8, I recommend getting the T8. It's one of those things to where, like, when you get a bike and components, depending on how good you are or how good you're not and where you're at in the beginning, if you've just started riding, the T7 will be absolutely sufficient. If you're maybe a little bit more of an aggressive rider, you have more aggressive places, the T8, I don't think the RockShox components will fail on you, but it seems like a lot of bikers have this, even though I have exactly what I need, I want something better mentality. So that's when you start like changing parts and spending money that you don't necessarily mean to spend. Because if you get the T7, and let's say you even buy the Fox, like it's the Rhythm floats, which are like the ones that like they basically sell to companies in bulk. You can't actually get a Rhythm float like on its own typically. The Rhythm floats you could buy like second hand from someone who's like upgraded to like a nicer Fox and things like that, around like $300 to $500. So if you do that, after you buy the parts to switch the fork and all that fun stuff, you're right back up to what the T8 actually costs if you decide to get rid of the RockShox. So it's one of those weird situations where, like, depending on what you want, just spend the extra money. I'm at a point now to where I just basically buy frames and build them up. I've never really found a bike that has exactly the components that I want. So, like, I can take those off and sell them and make a little bit of money and kind of like, wishy-washy it. But at the end of the day, it's more work and more expensive to buy something and start to upgrade it. So I don't really, maybe that's like, that might be a separate video. So T7 though, plenty sufficient for, I would say 90% of riders, if not 95% of riders. Let me find components. This is what we want. Let's break this bad boy down. Okay, frame set, ALX Trail 6061 aluminum frame. Can't beat it. 140, 135. So the 140, 135 is going to be a mixture of cross-country and trail. You're not quite into that enduro category. This thing I'm sure will be able to get rowdy, no problem. If you go take it somewhere and you're not necessarily pushing your own limits as well as the bike's limits, I think you'll be fine to go slightly more enduro downhill. I've taken plenty of hardtails downhill stuff and it's been fine. But it just depends on where you are and how you feel. 148/12. At this price, a 148 by 12 millimeter boost through axle in the rear is expected. If this did not have that, I would tell you to turn around, don't even look at this, and just run as far from this bike as you can. So, a little bit of the suspension. Kind of hit on it, but RockShox Recon Silver. Nice tapered. So 150, 140. It says 27.5 and 29. So that'll be interesting to see if you can actually buy that and change it. I'm sure it'll be 27.5 boost. But, no, 15 by 110 through axle. You're good there. 150, 140. I know, you know what? I bet it's 27.5 is 150 and the 29er is 140. That makes sense. So depending on what size you get, that's what's going to change there for you. RockShox Deluxe Select Plus, rebound 2-position compression custom tune. So, that's a nice rear shock. It is absolutely fine. All right, let's go to the drivetrain. Kind of talked about this a little bit. Ooh, this one's a 12-speed. That's really nice. 11 to 51. 11 will get you going really quick on sprints. 51 will help you a ton like Spider-Man climbing walls. You'll be fine with that gear range. Chain, crankset 170. As mentioned in the last video, if you're buying this bike, since we're talking about cranksets, you'll most likely want to buy pedals right away. Just get some race face Chesters on Amazon. Get some Fukers if you want to save some money. Plenty of options and pedals are always going on sale. Personal preference, P&Ws, I think they're terrific for the price. Very, very hard to beat. My favorite pedal, though, are DMR Vaults. They're expensive. I don't necessarily recommend you just spend the money on them, but that's pretty much all I ride now. I love the DMR Vaults. Terrific pedals. Amazing grip. Holy cow, amazing grip. The pins are just wild. Kind of talked about the brakes a little bit, too. Tektros, very nice hydraulic brakes. You got 4 2-pistons, as mentioned. The 4 piston's going to be up front. So the reason why they do that is because 4 pistons gives you more braking capability, right? Bigger surface, more pressure, can squeeze on the actual rotor easier. So that also kind of makes it easier to go over the bars because now you have more braking power. So you need to keep that in mind. But typically if you're slowing down, you kind of want you have to be careful with your front tire because you don't want to go over the bars. So yeah, 4 up front, 2 in the rear, that's nice. Tires, so let's see what this says. So, V tire flows. The V tires, is that Schwalbe? I'm not sure if V tires are Schwalbes. No, because Hans Dumps are what are pictured. So, I've had some Vs. Vs are nice. Nothing wrong with V tires. They are rubber, they grip the trail, you're good to go. Rims, Entities, again, those rims, the Entity brand is Polygon's own brand, as in like Trek is to Bontrager. So saves them money in the long run, I'd imagine, makes these bikes be able to be a little bit cheaper as well. So contact points. These are the things you're going to change if you don't like. When you buy a new bike, the only things that you should start changing, in my opinion, especially before you even buy or ride the bike, and this is if you know what you like contact point wise, are contact points. Your body only touches the bike in a few places. If you don't like where it touches those few places, you need to change that, because if you don't like where it touches, you're not going to want to ride the bike, and then it's just a vicious cycle downhill. So, Entity, seat post, KS Rage, no, that's the dropper. So, grips, Polygon pedals, it says alloy flat pedals. I'd still imagine they're not very good. With replaceable pin, I might need to do a couple picture searches to see, but I'm guessing they're still not super good. So, stem, if it's too long or too short, change that. If you don't like the grips, change your grips. Biggest one is saddle. If you're in your saddle for long periods of time just for biking or riding and things like that, you're going to want a saddle that you like. So, ones that I personally recommend, I ride ODI Vans grips. That's all I really ride. I love ODI Vans grips. The saddles, I typically only ride Ergon saddles. Love the saddles. I've already told you the pedals I ride. Typically handlebars, I'll do P&W handlebars. I think they're terrific for the price. And stem, I base my stem honestly off of about 35, 40 millimeters. And that's gonna depend on your reach, and that'll change for you. But honestly, stems, I don't really, like, I just get one that matches the color, and that's from a reputable brand. So you're good to go, because the last thing you want is your stem to break. So, weight, it says 15.40 for a 29er. So that's not too bad. We kind of went over the geometry a little bit. That head tube angle really surprises me. I don't know why, I just didn't expect 65. I'm gonna go off of the mediums, because that's probably what I'd buy for my height. Let's see what we got. So reach 460, it's good. Head tube angle 65.5. Interesting, the smalls and the mediums, I'm guessing, so the smalls and the mediums, math real quick for you. They're 27.5, so they're gonna come with a 150. Every 10 millimeters is roughly 0.5 degrees difference in the length, or the length of your fork itself. So smalls and mediums come with 150, so those head tube angles are gonna be 65. Medium, large, extra larges come with the 140. That's 10 degrees difference, which is a 0.5 degree difference right at for the actual head tube angle. So that's gonna be a little less slack, so 65.5. It might make a difference. You may notice it, kind of a thing, so keep that in mind. But it's still 65 technically if you round down. So good to know. Head tube length. So those are in increments of, it looks like 15, give or take. Okay, that's pretty close to that. So seat tube angle 71, 71, 70.5, 70.5, 70.5. Effective angle, 76.5. That's really nice for climbing. Some people may care about these numbers. Some people may not care about these numbers. It is what it is. Nice shorter chainstay, 425s, 430s. Those are pretty good for a cross country / trail. This is more trail oriented bike. So no, everything looks good there. Maximum tire width 2.6. That's a beefy tire if you want to go that wide. So, and then it goes into the travel a little bit. So 140, 135. I think 135 in the rear is a really, really solid, good number. And what it actually, like for, if you want like something that's gonna do cross country, but if you also want something that's going to do trail riding. This is the part of a little bit of a breakdown between the two bikes that I've done so far. So we'll do the D7 here, and we'll do the T7 here, okay? Besides the price difference, which is right around $300, if you do not have the $300, do not spend the extra money on the bike, okay? If you are going to get a little bit more rowdy, if you are going to get, potentially down, like go to some downhill parks or some gravity parks and things like that, or if you live in a more like a chunky area with rocks and things like that, I highly recommend you spending the extra to get the T7, okay? If you are a beginner and you're not 100% sure what you're going to be doing and maybe even how often you're going to be able to ride, save the $300 and buy the D7 as opposed. If you have the extra cash, and the money is not the issue, it's just you can't make up your mind which one to get, I highly recommend then going with the T7. The reason why is, even though it's a little bit more expensive, you'll be covered. You'll be able to do cross country. You'll have a little bit more travel, so if you decide to go to gravity and that kind of a thing, you'll have that as well in case. If you like one or the other more, I don't think you could go wrong with either. The orange accents on the D7 is actually pretty cool. Some people may not like it. So if you decide to go with the T7, maybe you like the gray and black as opposed, or the teal and yellow. And, you know, of course, if you're pretty sold on the T7, we'll swap pictures. Boosh, magic. T7, T8. If you have the extra money, the T8 is a nicer purchase. You know, it's an extra $400 right now with them still being on sale. But it's got a little bit nicer components. It's going to be nice, just a little bit nicer, well-rounded kind of a thing. In the sense of, you know, actual geometry, they're identical. They're the same bike. It's just slightly better parts, slightly nicer parts. Okay. Me personally, I think Fox is extremely squishy. Some people love that. I feel like RockShox is a little bit more responsive, and I can get it to be a little bit more snappy. But of course, this is also a little bit lower level RockShox, where this is kind of Fox's like middle ground. So I hope that kind of makes sense. Hopefully that explains, you know, the D7, the T7, and the T8 a little bit more. I wasn't planning on doing another one of these, but the feedback was pretty good. So I'm kind of weird about like reviewing bikes on paper and just kind of looking at it, because without having the bike like physically in front of me, it's hard to give you like an honest opinion over what I think. But on paper, again, these Polygon bikes are very solid bikes. And if you're looking for a new bike, I think any of these would be a good grab, good snag. But of course, my personal opinion, Xstrata. You can't go wrong with a hardtail. Love hardtails. If you guys have any questions, put them down in the comments. Thank you for tuning in. If you like this style of video, let me know. I'm fine with doing these. They're pretty easy to do, and I enjoy doing them and like just talking and giving you my opinion over things. So, but thank you all for tuning in, and until next time, everybody take care.